Hey, sup guys, so here's the build update on my Earthshatter Hammer of the Gods Titan. I will go over the skills and everything and show you what I'm doing and how I ended up doing things. So I'm using Earthshatter. Earthshatter is linked to Upheaval, Heft, Font of Rage, Splinter, and Brutality. Brutality we can swap out for Tremor, for example. I do not like Brutality, but I use it because that's what we can use. Seismic Cry, here with Dazing Cry and Inspiration. Dazing Cry just daze, which allows you to stun easier. Hammer of the Gods. So now what I'm doing differently from before is that I am doing bleed. And for that I have a swap and swap set up for it. So I'll show you how this works. So right now this is my tree normally, when I'm just mapping normally. You can see the red lines here. This is the first weapon set, the one I'm using with my shield currently. And then if I swap to the second weapon set, it will swap to the green line tree here. And this is the tree that I use every time I want to use Hammer of the Gods on a boss. And what I do is I swap to my second weapon set, drop the hammer, and then go back to the first weapon set to continue with block, etc. And on that weapon, on that tree, we only spec all the bleed stuff. We get enough bleed chance, along with the last rate support to get enough to get 100% bleed chance. And then the rest is just bleed magnitude of bleeding and bleed duration. And that's where you get all the damage. You also have this cluster here that gives you a bunch of ailment stuff and damage. And that's basically how it goes. You just play normally with the shield on because you need the shield for mapping defense. And whenever you boss, you stun. Say you heavy stun a boss, you will swap to the shield, the second weapon set, drop the hammer, go back to the shield. And this hammer will do an insane amount of damage because on our second weapon set we use two two-handers, which will give you basically 40% more damage on your hammer, assuming both weapons are the same. So the problem with that setup is like you do need 3 weapons. I just, as I was trying to make weapons, I just happened to have like 3 that are similar, so I just put them on. Also, the thing to note is that level melee skill is very good for Hammer of the Gods, so if you have a weapon that's a bit worse but has melee skill levels, it is also very good. So that is basically your bossing damage, bossing burst. That will pretty much one-shot. All you need is like one hammer for any boss at any tier, pretty much. I'm doing difficulty 4, tier 15, tier 16, well, level 82 bosses. They all die within the first heavy stun. Earthshatter is actually pretty good at doing that because you can start the boss fights. If there's a phase, if it's a boss that's spawning, you pre-stack 6, well, 9 I think it is. Yeah, 9 spikes. You pre-stack 9 spikes with before it spawns, and then when it spawns, you just pop them. A lot of the time, you will already stun it, and if it's not stunned, it will get stunned on the next couple attacks. And as soon as you stun, you wanna Seismic Cry, Infernal Cry, swap to the two-hander, to the second weapon set, drop the hammer, go back to one-hander shield on the first weapon set. Now, usually everything dies here. Citadel bosses, like it doesn't matter which one. Tier 1 bosses, tier 2 bosses, they also die the same way. It's a very, very strong weapon swap thing you can do. That's for Hammer of the Gods. The links on Hammer of the Gods is Heavy Swing, Expert Weakness, Rage Forge, Lacerate, and Fist of War. For Pinnacle bosses, I swap Fist of War for Deep Cuts, because in that case I will make use of Internal Bleeding. It's like after you drop the hammer, you Seismic Cry, Infernal Cry to exert your Earthshatter, and since Earthshatter is a skill that is gonna snapshot the exerts to all 3 spikes, you're basically gonna have like 6 spikes that will have a chance to aggravate, so it is almost guaranteed that you will aggravate the target with these 2 Earthshatter spike sets, and that is a big damage boost. And I will note that bleed is not worth it unless you actually can aggravate. If you cannot apply aggravate, if you cannot aggravate your bleeds, it is not worth it to go bleed. You can just go pure hit, and it is going to be more damage. It's going to be the same damage, pretty much. Now, Infernal Cry will link to Premeditation. It's again 15% more damage. And Rage for Cry, 30% more damage after you consume Rage, very good. And then Raging Cry to give you some Rage generation. And a life tap because it costs a lot of mana. If you don't have life tap, Infernal Cry costs like 160 mana. That's like half your mana pool almost. It's very expensive, so you gotta life tap it. The reason we put everything on Infernal Cry is that Seismic Cry does not get power unless the target is heavy stun. Either way, Infernal Cry is what you use when you want to do big damage. Seismic Cry is something you will use to pop your spikes. One thing to note with Seismic Cry is that it does not expend the cooldown if you do not get exerts, and you only get exert against heavy stun targets, which means that most of the time you'll be able to just spam your Seismic Cry with no cooldown, no problems. You do not need to be Warbringer for this. I don't think there's a big misconception with having to be Warbringer to play Earthshadow. That is not the case. You can just spam Seismic Cry regardless. And even if occasionally while mapping, say you Seismic Cry something that's heavy stun, that is not a problem. You still have Infernal Cry, and Aftershocks also will pop the spikes, so that is also something to note, that it's not the end of the day if you go on cooldown for like a couple seconds. Now we have Leap Slam, Leap with Martial Tempo for more speed, Holy Descent, and Rage. We do not use Leap Slam that often because our clear will come mainly from Stampede. Now Stampede is not a very good skill in my opinion. It doesn't do very much damage, at least when it comes to the shockwaves behind, but the slam itself has big AoE and hits decently hard. As you can see on the gem here, the slam is like 274, that's decent. That's basically an EQ Aftershock. And we use it with Devastate and Armor Explosion. That is the main thing that's gonna do our clear. Along with Aftershock and Magnified Effect. Now, with Aftershock support and the quality on Stampede, your Stampede will always Aftershock. As you can see, it's gonna Aftershock here, like it doesn't matter. You get because we use Aftershock support with these two nodes here, they give us 22%, then we get 20% from here. Use Stampede pretty much always Aftershocks. And that is pretty big for clear consistency. That will also allow to make sure that you actually heavy stun everything and trigger armor explosions. That is, you can also do it as a hit base with just damage support, but I found that the damage supports that are available to you for Stampede, when you're already using two other damaging abilities, there's not really that much left, and they're not that great. And armor explosion is just a lot better clear than just doing hit-based stuff with the Herald of Ash, etc. Speaking of Herald of Ash, we use it either way, just to help a bit for clear. It's not that great. You can probably use Overwhelming Presence if you find that you do not heavy stun reliably enough with Stampede. I would use Overwhelming Presence to ensure that you actually heavy stun as much as possible. And also use Berserk for now. Again, this is something like there's no real good auras on Warrior. They can use like Berserk is okay, gives you some rage effects, some leech. I use it. I don't think it's the best. I don't know if there's anything that's good. That is the main problem. There's not really good aura, so I just use those. I'll probably change it. I'm just telling you guys what I'm doing right now, how I have my character set up. And Shield Charge, that's a main movement skill with Ingenuity. So like basically how you move in maps, like you're just gonna be shield charging, cancelling the backswing with the roll, Leap Slam while it's on cooldown, and then like that. And then whenever, well, if they start to fight with Stampede, and same story. Okay, about Tremor support, I know a lot of people are asking about it. If it's good, do you use it on Earthshadow, do you use it on anything? And Tremor support on paper is by far the best single target damage support you can use. This is pretty much 75% more damage. The only problem with that is that it's very inconsistent, and the boss needs to not move pretty much for you to get the most damage from it. And it is definitely not something you will use mapping. You would never use that mapping. There's no use for that. This is pretty much just a 35% less damage support if you use that while mapping. And if you use it for while bossing, the problem is you need an extended boss fight where the boss does not move and you actually get to attack consistently with good uptime. And that is not how bossing, pinnacle bossing works in this game. You will not be able to make use of that. Like on paper, this is an insane support. In practice, not really. It's not really practical support. So I personally do not even use it, even when I'm doing pinnacle bosses. It is just a good gem on paper. Otherwise, yeah, that's it. This is basically POB / target dummy support type of thing. I would not use it. You can use it, but I don't think it is worth it. It's like, it is just funny to drop 7. For example, if you put it on the hammer of the gods, like sometimes you can see 7 hammers drop, and that's funny and all. But in reality, if you want to be efficient with your character, you do not want to use that. And I think in any scenario, because there's no scenarios where this can come into play and actually provide full value. So that's my take on Tremors. Insane on paper, practically not really useful. Now for the skill tree, as I mentioned earlier, I have 2 different skill trees, 2 different weapon swaps. The main one is the one that we want to have block cap with. There's a part that's actually pretty important for defense. You do need to get as much block as possible, and that means that you need to have a shield with block chance, increased block chance prefix on it. If you do not have this, it is not worth investing into block chance. So it is the #1 stat you want on your shield is block chance. So you can then invest into it's 5 points and a couple jewels to cap your block. And that is a massive difference in the mapping survivability, which is the biggest problem with warrior until you get that. And then besides that, like the block, we just get as much speed as we can. We get the skill speed here, we get the attack speed here, just to make the build feel more smoother for your movement, and you know, not having to spend too much time stuck mid animations. Other than that, just Warcry stuff, you know, attack, stun stuff, AoE, aftershock things here very important. Extra empowering. We take RT because until you get enough accuracy, you don't need to keep RT. You drop it whenever you have enough accuracy on your gear, if you can, ideally, and then you would drop this entire part. These 3 points here would drop them, and only get go up to here. You can also get all the strength here. That is also how I fixed. I know I get a lot of questions about how to use Giant's Blood. The way you do it is by traveling here to the down to this cluster here. It gives you a bunch of attributes. It gives you 10% exchange attribute, and mostly gives you these 3 small nodes here that on Titan reduce the attribute requirements by 6% each. So for example, this weapon I have, normally it would be 636 strength to use, and I only have 444 and I can use it. Gearing is still a problem. You still need strength on a lot of your items. I will show my gear in a bit. First I finish going over the tree. We take hit proofing here. It's armor and armor applying to defy damage. I honestly do not know if that works properly, because I do not really see a difference against fire damage, but we take it anyway. And here CDR for Hammer of the Gods, AoE. AoE is actually very important. We have it here as well with the Aftershock AoE. I think that's the way I kind of fixed the clear. There was a nerf on armor explosion. It did not chain. Chaining made it extremely good and extremely fun to use. And after the change, what I ended up doing is just, yeah, put in Aftershock to have the extra Aftershock, and scaling as much AoE as possible so that you know, if you do not chain, at least you cover the entire screen, and that's fine. That makes it feel a lot better, and the clear still feels fine. It will just not do the crazy two screen wides explosion chains that you would have in breaches, for example, before. Beyond that, yeah, nothing. Just block, melee damage, stuff, AoE, armor. The strength here, Giant's Blood, the Warcry nodes here to get some speed, get some CDR, get the heal too. That's also pretty nice, because say, for example, you drop low, you're low on life flask, you don't want to use it, you have some time, you can just you know, just spam Seismic Rite to heal yourself back up, and use your mana flask as a life flask in that way. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it for the tree. There's nothing really special. I'm pretty sure most warrior trees, slam warrior trees, will look pretty much the same. Now for the gear, again, right now this is my gear. I'm just using whatever the best weapon I could find. And the big thing about this is I have Mana Leash on it, and Mana Leash pretty much solve all your mana problem completely by itself on bosses, clear everything, which means you never have to use your mana flask. So going back to what I was talking about with this node means that you can spam Seismic Rite. You can use the mana flask as a life flask pretty much, because you will never need it for mana, very occasionally. The shield again, you want block chance, like I said, block chance, life, res, PDR ideally, physical damage reduction. I did not manage to get a shield that had both. That all life, block chance, and physical damage reduction. That would be the ideal shield. Helmet, just, you know, life, armor, res stuff. Same with the chest, just life, armor, strength, res. That's pretty much all the stats you want, like life, res, armor, strength, attack speed on gloves. You could also get melee skills on gloves. That being said, it's very difficult to get attack speed and melee skill and life and everything. I don't think I've looted a pair of gloves that had melee skills on them since the campaign, so that must be very, very rare. I think you can also get skills on Amulet if I'm not mistaken. Again, I haven't seen that, so... But I think ideally on the neck you want like life, percent life. I don't know if you can get melee skills, you might be able to. I've seen projectile skill, I have not seen melee skill. I think melee skill is only on the gloves. That's probably where you get those. And then rings, you know, same thing. Nothing special here. There's nothing really to say. Move speed on boots is mandatory as high as possible. Like, this is the #1 stat. If you do not have move speed on your boots, do not use them. If you have low movement speed on your boots, do not use them. You need as much movement speed as possible on the boots. That is the only thing that's like, yeah, you have to have them. And then your runes, just whatever. You just feel your resistances with it. On the weapon, it's always going to be iron runes for physical damage. Your weapon, I'm gonna go back on it real quick, but you want physical damage as much as possible, flat physical damage, increased physical damage, attack speed, level 2 melee skills. Yeah. Mana Leash is also nice to have. You can have Mana Leash on the gloves as well, or on the rings, so try to get Malalish somewhere in your gear. I think on the weapon is ideal because it doesn't take a resistance slot or an attack speed slot. I mean, it could, but right now I'm using this belt. But again, if you had a rare, that's from King in the Mist. If you don't have that, that's fine. Just use a belt like the one that I had previously with just like life, strength, res, armor if possible, things like that. And that's pretty much it for the gear. The charms don't really matter. They're not that good. You just put on whatever fits the map you're doing. If you're doing a bleed map, put the charm with the with for bleed. If you chaos rate is low, I would say that's the one actually. If you have chaos rate is low, you want to put poison res charm in there to help a bit. But ideally, you want to try to get as much chaos as possible. Yeah. So basically, this is how I ended up making this character for now. I think this is probably gonna be. I'm sure I'm gonna change a couple things, but for the most part, this is probably gonna be how I'm gonna end up playing it. I think it has the most damage you can get on this type of slammer. It has very good clear, and well, you block cap. So like ideally, I think speaking of block cap, I would use a surrender for survivability. If you can get a surrender, it's very good. It's gonna make your mapping survivability infinitely better. I do not have one. I'm trying to get one, and as soon as I get one, I will put it on. Yeah, I think that's it for this little build update. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have more questions, feel free to come to my stream, and I will answer them as much as I can. And I will try to also make a actual guide as soon as possible. I do have a planner. There's gonna be a link in the description. Check that one. I update my gear. And if I make any changes to the build, it will all be updated there as soon as I make them. So go follow that, go check that, and make sure you, whenever you want to see if there's any changes, or if you're not sure, if you want to like check like what exactly are socketed, what are the links, what are the skills on the tree, everything, go check there, and everything will be there. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.